So this session, I'm joined also by Johan and Vilho, and they will be getting into their respective parts of the session as we move forward. So of course, I'm Joanne Hyland, in case of those of you who do not know me, and I'm one of the co-chairs actually, or co-leads for the SIG for the Innovation Body of Knowledge. So for the agenda for today, we're going to have a very brief introduction. Then we have 4 topics that are lined up for providing a little bit of input and then discussion among the people that will be online. The first topic is going to be around terminology and principles, which are really the foundation for the standards. The second one is going to be about more about the mindset of moving from and looking at idea management and process alone to a systems perspective. The third topic will be about the innovation management system itself as a game changer for us as innovation management professionals. And then the fourth topic will be looking at some of the success factors from an innovation management professional perspective, but also from the academic researcher perspective. And of course, we're going to have a brief break in between, and we will have a wrap up at the end. So for the introduction, just for those of you who do not know, and most of you should know about ISPIM as being the International Society for Professional Innovation Management. It's the oldest and largest group in the world with members from over 100 countries. We have 12 theme-based special interest groups, and one of them is the Innovation Body of Knowledge, SIG, which is sponsoring this session. And the purpose of our body of our SIG is actually to build the global body of knowledge to support innovation management professionals. And we are hoping to do this and continue to do this with the contributions of the ISPIM community and also through the ISO experts that we have been working with for the innovation management. So they are also part of the contributions as well. So in the SIG, you can see Vilho and myself, and then we have Bailey is also online, but Magnus and Ingrid are not with us. We are the co-leaders of the SIG. And Johan is very much a part of this because of his role in being the chair for the TC279, which is the Innovation Management Committee at the ISO level. So we're delighted to have him as part of the team today, given his very important role within ISO. We have 4 streams. We had an existing stream that had been in place since 2018, which was very conference oriented. So we were running sessions at events that would be in June, or some of the Connects events that are in other parts of the year in different locations outside of Europe. But we recently introduced 3 new streams. One is the Innovation Competency Framework for Innovation Management, which has recently been approved at the ISO level to develop a new standard for. And Charlie Tuxworth will be leading that, and we will be running a session in Tallinn to discuss that further. The convener balloting is still in process, but Charlie's the only name, so he's likely, obviously, to become the convener as a result. The other new one is the Global Innovation Body of Knowledge, or the IMBOK, so the Innovation Management Body of Knowledge. We're hoping to get that under development. We're awaiting funding from Erasmus Plus, hoping to be successful. And Vilho and Bailey were very much a big part of putting that application together, and that is also sponsored through ISPIM. And Savonia was the lead on pulling it all together. And then the final one, which is also new, is about exploring personal certification for the members within the ISPIM community. And that is really on hold right now until we figure out what we really want to do in terms of the path forward for items number 2 and 3. So we have begun the journey. I'm not going to go into the details about this, but there was a book that came out that members of the team have been involved in. So we've started to build the lasting body of knowledge. In that book, we had 16 case studies from around the world, as you can see, and ISPIM and ISO were very much a part of it. ISO, because we were looking at it from the standard perspective, and in this case, the ISO 56002 standard, which is the guidance standard for innovation management, for the innovation management system. And then ISPIM was really the sponsor of working with us and the publisher to be able to make it happen. So my last introduction before passing over to Johan is, why are standards so important for innovation management? And there are many people in the innovation management community that think that standardization and innovation management are oxymorons, or you can't bring standards to something that is creative. And Johan will get into, or Vilho will get into a little bit more about why that is not the case when you start to make the differentiation. But what we're really talking about here is an enabler to be able to sustain growth, provide economic viability, increase well-being, development of society. And in order to do that, we have to have the ability to innovate. And the ability to innovate means you need to be systematic about it. And as a result of being able to do that, you bring together all the elements of the management system to be able to be effective and efficient. And one of the areas that has become very important is the increased ability to manage uncertainty. So if you do have an innovation management system in place, you can then be in a better position to identify and reduce uncertainty, and also to be able to build an innovation portfolio. Excuse me. It also helps with growth, renewal, competitiveness, regulatory compliance. It also makes resources much more efficient. It helps with building the ecosystem, which is very important in the innovation management world today. And it also really helps with empowering people in the organization to become a lot more committed because they have a clear view of where they're heading from an innovation management perspective. So this is just our very brief introduction of kind of who we are, what we're involved in, and why we all believe that standards are so important for innovation management. And so with that, I'm now going to pass it over to Johan, who's going to take us through the next section related to terminology and principles. So over to you, Johan.
Thank you, Joanne. So yeah, the first, when it comes, as Joanne said, when you start talking about innovation and standardization, that can create some doubts and because it could be seen as an oxymoron. And I guess the starting point is to ensure that we speak the same language. And that's why we wanted to start this first, to start the presentation here with this topic one related to innovation management terminology and principle. What is standardization and how does it work? What is it about? It's important to understand that a standardization is not, it's not just a couple people that love standards and draft them for the rest of the world. Standardization is a process and it involves all interested parties. The idea there is that the one who creates standards are people that are experts in the field and represent the entire ecosystem, represent all interested parties related to the topic of the documents. So it starts with experts, and of course here, like Vilho, Joanne, and myself participate as experts within the committee or with different responsibilities there. And experts work together, and they work with a very important notion, which is the consensus approach. Drafting a standard is not about being the most popular there. It's really we don't work with any votes. We work with consensus. So we need, when we work all together, to find out something that fits everyone's views, that join together all the different perspectives. And this is the real very important when drafting standards. It's about a consensual approach with everyone, with experts from different organizations representing the domain. We work together within our national standardization body, and then experts are sent by the different national standardization body at the international level. So in ISO TC279 for the standards under the series 56,000 something. If you move to the next slide, we're going to see that this is the part of, gives an idea on how many experts and on how many countries are involved in this work. I'm in charge of, I'm the chair of this committee right now. And one of my role there is to ensure that we have a balanced representation and of all the different, in terms of gender, in terms of age, in terms of country represented, in terms of approaches related to innovation. We really try to have the broader community there possible to have the best standards in the end. So since 2 years, 2 to 3 years, we've been working a lot to try to color more Africa, because we don't have enough African experts yet. You know, it's still the gray zone in the middle of the map, but we start to have more and more. And otherwise, all continents are well represented in the TC. We have 77 countries member right now. And we published 9 standards and 4 under development. So we're going to see which one have been developed till now. If we move to the next slide again. So this is, you're going to have to click a lot. Please, you can fill that. So 56002 is one that has been published in 2019. That's the umbrella one, the one that has the broader, that present the global system. Then you have ISO 56000 in the middle of the screen. This one is related to fundamentals and vocabulary. We're going to give some details around that. And there is a handbook related to 56002 to make it more readable, more easy to get. We also have then a document related to the assessment of an innovation management assessment practices with 56004 on the right. And then a couple tools and methods that provide some zooms on parts of 56002, part of the innovation management system approach. So related to partnership, IP management, strategic intelligence management, the early phases with managing opportunities and ideas, and innovation operation measurements is another one. So all those are published, as well as the 56010 that also provides some examples related to the definitions. So everything here is that what has been published till now, and those are all guidance documents. Means that you cannot be audited, you cannot be certified compliant with, but it's just more guidelines. It provides just guidelines, recommendation to improve your activities, but it's not for an audit purpose. Now what's going to change is the next one. So in what we're going to develop, well, what we're under developing now, and the next that are to come, we have some revision. The documents are regularly updated. So that's the case for the 56000 right now. It's under revision. So some definitions are added, some definitions are changed in the document since the first publication. And we have also a new document. Well, we have an example, well, a technical report that gives some example related to ISO 56008 innovation operation measurement. That's another one. And the 2 key topics are far right and far left on this drawing. Far right, you have the 56,000, should be 11, probably now the numbering. Work is starting and related to innovation management competency framework. ISPIM has been part of the discussion in the early phases. I know there are some workshops again that are going to talk about it during the upcoming conference. So the question of competency evaluation is important, and that is a topic that is going to be developed within the 2 to 3 coming years. So that's one on the right. And the one on the left is also key. It has the same title as what you saw on ISO 56002, Innovation Management System. And we're going to detail this document a little bit. But this one is going to be the first requirement standards. And that's a game changer. We're going to come back on this because it's not just about providing guidances. It's about requirements and being able to audit an organization and ensure that it is compliant with a standard. It's still, I mean, it's not the law. Everyone will be free to implement or not the standards, but they will have the change is that this document will give an opportunity for companies to be audited, certified, and prove that they're aligned with the documents. So this is all about the documents that are published. Now, if we come back to as we said, to the terminology thing. It has been a challenge to define innovation altogether. Imagine defining innovation with your colleagues, 5 of them. Imagine now doing the same exercise with 50 experts coming from 50 different countries. That's another challenge. We ended with this definition, saying innovation is a new or modified entity. That can be entity, could be a product, a service, an organization, a business model, and so on, that creates or redistributes value. And value could be financial and non-financial. So we have a broad definition, much more larger than, just considering innovation is a product that finds a market. It might be something else than the product, and it might not be linked to a market, but to a use. In any case, innovation there is defined as an outcome. So you do not work on innovation. You work on something that will potentially end in being an innovation. Innovation is defined as the outcome. Then we define innovation management. Innovation management is actually about defining, planning, executing the different steps to transform ideas, opportunities into innovation. It's a discipline, and of course it has to find the right balance between managing risk, dealing with uncertainty, and achieving results. But innovation management is there related to the operational process of innovating. So innovation is the outcome, innovation management is the process, is the operational process related to innovation, to innovating. So the objective to gain innovation in the end. And then what adds the standards, again, the title of 56002 and 56001 is Innovation Management System. And that changed many things, because the Innovation Management System is the set of activities that will help to build innovation capabilities within the organization. The Innovation Management System is about building capabilities by implemented activities that will favor the emergence and development of innovations in a plural form. So that is really key, because when we deal with building an innovation management system, we do not deal with innovating. We deal with building capabilities to allow for more and better innovations. Then another element that we worked on when we started working on this standardization process was also to get a line on what we call the innovation management principles. When you want to start an innovation dynamic within an organization, you need to focus on key principles. And thus, we identified 8 principles there. And I'm going to list there, and that's going to be one of the things you're going to start working together right after this last slide. The first one is about realization of value. What an innovation management dynamic is about creating value. And value, with the broad definition that we gave, it means it's not just about creating money, it's about creating value in the broader sense. So it might be knowledge, it might be money, it might be an environmental gain, a social gain. It might be a better dissemination of value. It might take several forms, but in any case, what we're trying to achieve is to realize value. Then the second principle is future-focused leaders. That was important because, and it's linked with the third one there, strategic direction. Starting an innovation journey is not just about, making a big deal and stop. No. Focusing, building innovation capabilities, aiming for better innovation is about being future-oriented, being able to have a long-term perspective and decide that innovation is a strategic direction. It's not just about fashion, it's about building capabilities. Then the fourth principle is in the culture. So yes, we need to take into account the specificity, the internal culture of an organization and the sectoral culture that might also be there. It's important there are some key elements in a culture if you want to favor innovation, but you also need to take into account what you are. No, all organization cannot have a startup culture. You need to deal with what you have and build the system with focusing on these principles, like being able to build up a culture that could favor innovation, but we cannot just copy paste a culture from one organization to another. Exploiting insight is another one. So when it comes to exploiting insight, is about, getting these small things, these small insights that to work on, and not just work with global trends or things that are already very obvious for everyone. If you want to have an innovation dynamic, you need to be able to deal with those small things that everyone is not able to see. You need to find out these insights. You need to investigate. You need to search. You need to look for things. And this link with uncertainty, this principle number 6, managing uncertainty is key, and we had a lot of discussion between the linkage with the linkage between risk and uncertainty and so on. uncertainty is part of the journey, and when it comes to innovation. So we need to be able to manage uncertainty, which is not about mastering uncertainty, it's not about controlling uncertainty, it's about doing what you can with what is there. You also need to be adaptable. So it's about how can we build processes, but ensure that those processes are still adaptable, are not too, too tight, are not too serious. We need to find the right way. Yes, we need to organize the innovation, but we also need to keep a certain level of adaptability within the organization. And finally, a system approach, that's a key one there. Innovation management dynamic comes with a systemic approach. It's everything you're going to change within your system might have an impact on your global results. So we need to work on this and be able to not to look for, A plus B is always equal to C, but be able to find out the different scenarios and of course that is linked with the uncertainty approach as well. So 8 principles as a basis for the innovation management system. And we wanted this discussion, well, this afternoon to be as dynamic as possible when we work remotely. So what we wanted to do there is to offer you to have some group discussion. And so for group discussion today, and what we invite you to do is to look at these eight principles, and you're going to split into sub-rooms. And we'll invite you all together to discuss within the sub-rooms about those 8 principles and find out which of the following are already, which of the 8 are already implemented in your organization, how do you deal with them, and maybe how do you not consider some of them. Vilho, Joanne, is there any technical elements we should add?
Yeah, well, Vilho's going to be separating everybody out into groups in just 1 minute, and he will put the diagram of the principles in chat, so everybody will have access to that. And from a time point of view, we've allocated about 15 minutes for this, and then everyone will be coming back. And we won't have all of the groups report out, but we'll ask for a couple of the teams to report out on sort of what they discussed in their groups and what they observed in terms of what principles are actually being used and which ones could be missing. So I think that's about it. I think Vilho is ready to assign everyone into their groups now. And I know we had a discussion about whether we want to meet everyone or whether this is more about training. And because it's more about training, our advice is, since we only have 15 minutes, is let's not focus too much on introducing ourselves, but focus more on getting down to the discussion. So maybe like brief name and then just get into talking about the principles themselves. Okay, so Vilho, are we ready to go?
Yes, we're ready to go. Unfortunately, I'm not able to share the picture in the chat because of restrictions at the moment. But in the Slido, there's a link in the chat to a Slido. If you open that, you will have all of the 8 principles listed, so you can refer to them in that link. And we would be very happy if all of you, after discussing, would answer which of the principles you are using or following in your organizations today. And then when talk amongst each other how you do that, and then when we get back to the big room, we can hear some hows from everyone.
Okay, great. Okay, so welcome back. And as we said, we won't be able to pull upon or draw upon all the great insights of all the groups this time around, but we'll certainly do it topic by topic. So how about we do start with team number 1 and ask for team number 1 to share their insights from their conversation. And then if you could keep to about maybe 2 to 3 minutes, we should then be able to fit in 2 more teams, and we'll just randomly select those ones as well. So team number 1, would you mind sharing your conversation about which principles are being used, or what do you think of the principles? What could be missing? Are there differences from an organization point of view, etc.?
So maybe I could represent our team, and thank you for the good discussion. In our team, we noticed that some were more familiar and some were less familiar with IMS, but that there's actually a large opportunity now to implement IMS more. And some are also interested in seeing how like it can be put into place. And we discussed also the difference between a strategical and tactical approach in this. And we even touched on if we were interested in all of the principles and how we could in our organization start to prioritize, like what is our decision-making process about which ones are the top priorities at a certain time. We didn't get a chance to go as deep into each of the principles as we would have liked to, just too short amount of time. But one thing that one of our participants stated was actually quite interesting, that there was one case where the internal management consultants were making this kind of strategic plan, but it probably was not based on innovation management standards. And now that when there are the standards being developed and released, this might give a more concrete and standardized or systematic way to build these strategies and operational plans.
Great. Thank you, Bailey. Very nice summary. So let's move on. Let's do the uneven. So how about we do team number 3? So team number 3, someone like to speak up and give us the nature of what your conversation was all about?
So we started our discussion with, it depends on the different type of organization and the activities that you're carrying out as to which of these principles might be more relevant and important at different points in time. And we took the specific example of a startup, for example, and talked about how culture and future focus may or may not be important. And Joanne very kindly gave us her input, which was that perhaps there's less relevance for this system as a whole in a startup environment. And I think that's an interesting topic for future discussion. I'm not sure personally I entirely agree. I think there could be relevance, but you know, it's a topic for discussion. We moved around the table then just talking about which of these principles people had used in their different organizations. We had a variety of different approaches from academic, technology development and government. And I would think that on balance, we talked quite a bit about exploiting insights being a main focus, because that's where all the product development and project initiation kind of starts from. Future focus also came out as an interesting topic because that's really thinking about what is it that we're aiming for, as well as managing an uncertainty, because that's the process of taking these insights through into something that could be justified, and we can start to see how the value could be realized. That's probably about as far as we got, actually, to be honest. We did get some good contributions from kind of academic side as well, interested in how academia can contribute to innovation and supporting organizations and realizing what should be in their approach going forward. We didn't get much time to go any more deep than that.
Okay, great, thanks, Colin. And just to clarify, what I was saying is that when we were drafting the standard, there was a big discussion about whether a startup could measure up to the requirements level of an innovation management system. And newly formed organizations, there's a caveat in there to say that they might not be able to early on in their journey. So it's not that it isn't relevant, it just might not be relevant for all of the organizations, even from a startup perspective.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so, okay, great. So thanks again, and maybe on to team number 5.
What I was seeing and kind of taking note of was the difference between kind of a startup, small, middle, and kind of like, for me, I'm a big corporation, and how to implement it. It sounds like a lot of people, someone said a great, I think it was Hubert who said that when he's going to kind of talk to companies, he's noticing that they don't even have like a proper setup management system, which I think is kind of maybe a corporate curse that often happens. So that's kind of what I was pulling from and kind of finding a lot of interest around, is just having the proper setup of a system. And that's why this is a great aid, because it helps you start that system instead of kind of wandering blindly through the forest trying to figure out how to do innovation. So yeah.
Okay, great. So what we're hearing is it gives an approach or a systematic way of being able to think about some of the important principles. So that's great. Thank you, Carly. Okay, so now it's time to move on to the next topic. I'm hoping that we're going to be okay with that one. I think Vilho, you're up next, but we also, Johan mentioned that he's having some internet issues, so we're hoping that we won't lose him in the process.
Still
So-
in.
Still there, I know I saw you. Okay, good. So over to you, Vilho.
Thank you. Okay, so for this next topic, there's been a lot of focus on idea management and the innovation process. And that's all good and great, and there needs to be focus on that. I have been working a lot with managing opportunities and ideas and standardizing that. But the point that we're making with the standard series is that it's not really enough, because you cannot focus just on the innovation processes. You have to go from process to system. The innovation process itself doesn't survive solely on being something that you think you can manage without having to respect that it's a part of a bigger system. But if we just look at the innovation process, the representation that we have ended up with in the system standard series is that of 5 general, very general kind of bubbles or steps. And as you can see by the arrows, we're not trying to say that it's a linear process, as has been indicated in previous standards. It's absolutely not linear. It's absolutely iterative. There could be a lot more arrows here if we wanted to, but at some point you have to say, no more arrows. But generally, any type of innovation moves from having an intent to innovate. And this can be more or less explicit. Sometimes people know why they need to innovate, sometimes they don't. There's a lot of serendipitous innovation happening. But if you do take a systems approach to it, you will start with establishing a solid intent and some sort of value that you want to generate. And then any innovation will have moved through a phase of being identified as an opportunity, or someone coming up with an idea that fits and addresses an opportunity. You create some sort of concept suggestion here where you marry that idea. Could be a technology that needs a solution or the other way around, and you put it together with a way to deliver that solution so that you kind of have a value proposition and a model to deliver that. It could be a business model or it could be a mission model, depending on if you're private or public sector. And then you validate that, and you either come up with the realization that it's not good enough, or it's too much uncertainty still, you still need to iterate. So you patch that forward as is necessary. And if you develop the solution, you will build it, and hopefully you get some time to a point where you can deploy it. And a lot of time is spent inside the innovation process. But nowadays, it's not really enough to just be in the innovation process, because as we see in the next slide, being able to run design sprints or Google sprints or whatever to have a new prototype out is all well and good, but when we need to do it all the time, every day, it's not enough to have one good innovation process. The competitive landscape of today is completely different, or well, not completely, it's very, very much more challenging today than it has ever been. And that's not going to change. It's not going to be less competitive. Global competition is rising. The jobs are getting more complex. There's new entrants. There's a whole host of sustainability related issues with less resources, global goals from Agenda 2030 that need to be addressed. This really hammers home the point that we can't operate as per usual. We can't have systems of management systems that hamper innovation processes. And that's the point of the innovation management system. To enable us, as we see in the next slide, to actually take a systematic approach to making this innovation process work, or even making our innovation processes work, because very likely we will need more than one innovation process to get to where we want to be, especially for a larger organization. Or even a medium-sized organization can probably benefit from having more than one innovation process. And the point then being that you should really have the right innovation process for the right innovation opportunity or strategic opportunity area. And if you look at the clauses of the innovation management system from the top to the bottom, we can start with context, which is about understanding the external and internal world of the organization and building the management system into that. So understanding who are our users, what do they want, what do they need, and who are our employees and what do they want and what do they need, what can they do, and what kind of trends are affecting us right now, and what are the kind of weak signals that we can find into the future for coming trends that will completely change the landscape that we're acting in. Based on that, we can engage our leadership in actually supporting our innovation efforts, establishing a clear intent for us, establishing a vision that works for our organization, and making sure that we have one or more innovation strategies that will help our different core activities or core areas reach into the future and create something that will work for us. And here is where the principles of strategic direction and future focused leadership really comes into play in the management system. But then we also have such important things as planning. What kind of planning cycles is our organization based on? What kind of objectives are set, and where can we get innovation objectives into the organizational structure, so that people are actually measured on delivering innovation activity in the right areas? And also, how can we structure our innovation management portfolio to feed the strategy or the strategies that we do have? And with that in place, it becomes easier for the innovation process to actually work, because you are looking at the kind of barriers that usually exist, like it's not aligned to strategy. Well, then let's change the strategy. Or leadership doesn't support this. Okay, well, then let's get leadership support to innovate. But let's do it in a way that is actually aligned to what leadership wants. And then there's all kinds of supports that will come up, but that's allocating resources. It could be internal resources in terms of competence or finance, but it could also be external resources. Could also be infrastructure, physical or digital. And in the management system, you don't have to do everything yourself. You can leverage other organizations for the different parts, but it's really important that you do the evaluation and improvement yourself, and that you own that cycle. And Johan will talk more in detail about how you can integrate different management systems. But for example, if we look at something that's very popular, which is the front-end innovation management processes. If we click once more, we can see that that is actually something that's supported in the series of standards. So there's a whole standard dedicated to managing opportunities and ideas, and that gives plenty of guidance in, for example, managing uncertainty. There's a whole annex on managing uncertainty in 2 different ways. You can do it based on iterations, or you can do it based on categorization of different types of uncertainty. There's different entry points into managing uncertainty, and based on where you are and where you stand, you might find that different ones are more appropriate. All of this is to say that with the management system approach, we can actually leverage a lot of the work that is being done in our other management systems. So very likely, if you're an established organization, you are doing some sort of quality management. You could be actively certified according to 9001, or you just have a quality management policy and an action plan to do that. But if you are an established organization, you cannot get away from the fact that most of the public tenders that you can submit to require you to have a quality management system. But then as part of the quality management system, you probably have internal audit processes in place to improve your quality management system. And then you can leverage some of that to actually monitor and improve your innovation management system. Of course, you need to train your internal auditors in innovation management skills so that they will be able to audit the correct things. But there's a lot of gains to be seen by utilizing these kinds of the fact that the ISO system standards are based on a harmonized structure. In your environmental management system, you might be doing a lot of context analysis work to understand trends that are limiting your ability to conform to a good environmental management. Maybe some of those can be leveraged as opportunities in your innovation management system. Equally, in your occupational health and safety management system, you will find things that aren't working as they should and aren't easily resolved. Those can also be fed into your innovation management system to be treated as innovation initiatives that have a high degree of uncertainty that needs to be reduced before they can be deployed as innovations, and in the end fed into your quality management system to actually be continuously delivered and continuously improved. So we can take a little bit of a look on the different supports that are recommended in 56002. So we have skills. This is something that you can work with and should work with to expand within your organization so that you have the correct skills to innovate. Another important aspect is to communicate and raise awareness on why innovation is important to your organization and your ecosystem, and this requires a clear intent. Intellectual property management is something that is crucial for probably all organizations. Even if you think it's not, it's probably more important for you than you think it is. Because even if you are not producing intellectual property that you want to sell or license, probably you're interacting with IP in one way or another, and it's definitely necessary to understand that you're actually able to use the IP that you do produce. Another important thing is strategic intelligence management. This could also be called lobbying. And it's something that may or may not be important for your organization to actually practice. But it is important to be mindful of it. Maybe you can leverage other organizations for that. Maybe you can leverage networks to do that. tools and methods that equip your innovation processes are absolutely crucial, and there's usually gaps in the innovation process. Maybe you have great tools for design thinking, but maybe you don't have so good tools for the later stages of the innovation process for deploying your innovations. Obviously, you need to have time to work with innovation, and you also need to finance it. And those you can either leverage external or internal resources. And the infrastructure, as well as the tools and methods, work hand in hand to support different areas of your supports. So that by that we can move into the group discussion topic. So from your experience, what are the main reasons for failure or success while developing an innovation initiative? And now we want you to be thinking about the innovation process. But don't let that limit you. So do consider what system elements might be failing in supporting the innovation process. So I have reshuffled I will need to reshuffle the group rooms again because we have some rooms are bigger than others. Okay.
I think we want to try to leave most of the people in their same rooms and add a few people, so that you can get to know each other along the way.
Yeah, but we had some rooms that were almost empty, so.
Okay, good.
I have tried to leave people in the rooms, but there were some that were less.
Okay, good. You know, so there's these blue lines on the presentation right now, and we don't know where they came from. So we'll figure that out during the time you guys are in your groups. Okay, welcome everyone back. Unfortunately, group 4, we seem to have a lack of participation, so we're going to fix it for the next round. But I think the rest of the groups have had I know it was a brief conversation this time. We're going to have more time the next one. The idea now is just to talk a little bit about the process, and are there any elements of the process in place? And then are there also connectivity or elements that are connected with some of the other system elements? The next topic will be about the system itself. So we just want to keep this brief so we can get to a quick break and then move into topic number 3, which will be actually the innovation management system. So I did call upon groups 1 and 3 and 5 the last time. So let's start with group number 4. And what was the conversation that you had within your room?
I can start with group 2.
Okay,
if you
good.
wish. So when we talked about what were the main reason for failure, why developing an initiative, the first main reason that came out, and we talked a lot about, was about middle management. Well, or engaging the different level of, the decision-making process and engaging everyone within the organizations. And we had this discussion saying that, yeah, you need top management to be engaged, because you need this sponsor, you need, in the context of uncertainty, you need to have these future-focused leaders that ensure you can investigate these kind of areas. But also, then we had the discussion about this middle management. So sometimes you have top management, sometimes you have like the workers that would wish to do something, but the lock is at the middle management level, because they're asked to work on, to work with innovation, but in the meantime they're asked to be productive and ensure the daily operations and so on. So yeah, most of the discussion was there is like, will the standards help to engage all these different levels, and especially to align middle management, top management on this sense of urgency, this needs to innovate, and on the ways to do it, and the risk that can be associated. So then it was linked to discussion among how to make internal lobbying, internal and external lobbying, and yeah, and ensure the second thing was to ensure that innovation comes as an as an usual daily operation, and not just as something you do when you do sometimes, but then can stop as soon as a crisis shows up. You know, innovation should not be the thing that you cut. So how to, yeah, also another things like, so to the question, what could stop innovation was a bit like, well, any crisis could stop innovation management. So how not to ensure that this would be stopped too fast. That's for group 2.
The next topic, 3, which is about the innovation management system itself and how it can be a real game changer for all of us. So Johan, please.
Yes, in the innovation management system is a game changer for all of us, and is a game changer for the world, because we need to change the world and we need to innovate more and better everywhere. And hopefully that's going to be a tool that will help to achieve this objective. If we can move to the next slide. So coordination. We will look at this impact and why I guess it's a game changer at different scale. We can look at, you know, the innovation management community with different perspectives. And the innovation management system approach will have impact at these different levels. First of all, so we could consider the innovation management professional committee that we all, you know, participate to. That's the first focus we will do. Then we will look at the individual level, what it changed for each individual, each person, what it changed for the organizations, and what it changed at the ecosystem level. This is also part of the discussion that we had in one of the rooms before. It was about, you know, this importance to be connected to the ecosystem. So if we start looking at the different details, first of all, let's focus on the innovation management professional community as a whole. What does the standards bring? I believe that the first thing is that it helps to professionalize our approach. Most of us work in the innovation field, but we don't share the same vocabulary. Maybe not. And some of us are specialists in some sub-elements, in creativity, in the lab approach, in design thinking, in building strategies, and so on. And we all introduce ourselves as experts somehow in innovation management. So we need to be more precise. We need to sharing this innovation management system approach is a way to highlight that each of our expertise is important, but all of them, each is important, and all of them are important. We need to be able to consider all of them. So sharing a common framework, sharing a common language, being able to talk about the same thing with the same vocabulary would definitely help to all of us to learn more faster and be more efficient in our jobs. It also facilitates collaboration and benchmarking. Yes, if we start discussing together, see, we started the meeting today by taking 15 minutes to deal with definitions. Hopefully in a couple of words, we will not have to do that. Hopefully in a couple of words, we will all have, you know, have the same definition for the same words and have the same concepts in mind. And that will help to go through. It doesn't mean that we will do the same thing, but we will be more able to start doing things limiting the misunderstanding that we can have when we use words with different meaning in mind. It also helps to be more effective, more efficient as well, because it increased the likelihood of innovation success. Yes, implementing a system allows for better success than innovating just by chance. And it increased the speed of knowledge dissemination. Standards is a key to disseminate knowledge. Think about quality management. What happened with quality management? Everyone everywhere in the world now has similar references and knows about what quality management is. Well, I would not work in this field for sure, but still I know what it is. And, you know, I can share the basics with everyone. So hopefully we would have the same thing for innovation management. And helps to give some visibility. Yes, you know, implementing a standard gives visibility to what you do. It gives some legitimacy. It helps to clarify roles and the different roles and responsibility within the organization and within an ecosystem. And finally, work on efficiency, because it increases, again, speed of learning and value creation by implementing the system. So that's the benefits for the global community. It's really about effectiveness, efficiency, visibility, and professionalization. Now, if we zoom on the next slide of what is it going to change for the individuals, for each of us. Yielding standards provide a foundation for an objective body of knowledge. We have in the innovation field, there is a lot of people that comes with experience. You know, a lot of consultants, a lot mostly consultant comes with experience in innovation management. Okay, but what are the basic knowledge? Where does it come from? Where is the body of knowledge? This standard is the foundation for this. It provides a framework where we can aggregate knowledge and be more able to train people and ensure that we use experience, but we also use knowledge, because both should work together. Being able to link all the formalized tools and methods, and the fashion one, I mean, yeah, design thinking, foresight, agile, those are the key for innovation. No, they're tools. And when you start thinking with the system level, you would understand that you need potentially several of them, because they have several impacts, and there are different things, different special. Yeah, it's about being a specialist into this, but you need also to be able to aggregate all those tools together and understand that each has a role to play in the innovation dynamic. And also, yeah, develop the system thinking. That's difficult. And we need more system thinking. We live in a complex world. Complexity is everywhere. And we need to train people. People need to be ready to embrace this complexity, embrace uncertainty. And the innovation management system approach is a tool to talk about innovation with this systemic level. Systemic and systematic works together there. And this is, I guess, very important. Then at the organizational level, well, it depends on the organization, but it has an impact on the entire ecosystem. For companies, it will help to broaden the definition of value, ensuring that value is not only about value, money creation, and about cash, cash flow. Ensure that we can build sustainable innovation capabilities. It's a real game changer for companies not to think innovation as a project list, but as a capability they have to develop to be able to achieve more regularity innovation and to be able to generate more value with, again, its different forms. And although for mid to long-term perspective and portfolio management, in companies that will start implementing an innovation management system will stop thinking in a wrong single project, but think with more of the portfolio approach and understand that they need a mid-long-term perspective to build those capabilities. There's so many, companies looking for the miracle recipe to implement and innovate in the next 3 months. That's not going to happen. If this was to exist, the people who invented this method would be very rich now. We need to work on the long-term perspective. Changing the DNA, working on the culture takes time and comes from as a result of working on processes. That's actually what I believe. Impact of the universities. Look at your innovation management trainings and check the innovation management trainings of your colleagues among the different universities. You have like 70% chance that your program will be very different. Okay, is it a problem? No, but how can we explain that? You can have some specificity in your programs, but where is the common framework? Where is the basis? The innovation management system and the standards behind gives a first common language and can ensure that all universities that train innovation managers will be able to provide the minimum set of knowledge and, a kind of list of topics to address. Then they can have some specificity. Of course, they can have focuses, but then it becomes, a training that trains to innovation management with a specific focus on. It's completely different, like being the one that produces the right training when the colleagues make the same thing. It will allow for better communication and better differentiation among the different value proposition within the universities. And also with consultants, there is the same. You have so many innovation consultants, but do they offer the same services? No, probably not. And if you're a creativity consultant, or if you're a funding consultant, or if you're a strategy consultant, you have different skills and you have different value to bring to the companies. So here again, it will allow some consultant will be experts from innovation management system development, and then they can call on specialists to focus on specific elements. And I really believe that these standards are a game changer, because they're going to clarify everyone's roles, and for all organization, it will have an important impact. And now if we move to the ecosystem level, this is also key. Depending on your countries, you might be in more advanced countries in terms of innovation development. And so I would differentiate here like newly formed innovation ecosystem and well-established one. For more, let's say, Western European countries, we usually have quite well-established innovation ecosystem. I'm from France, and I can't even tell you how many innovation supports agency we have in France, probably 1,000 of them. And you know, they're with different roles, and at regional, national level, or even at the city level, and some have some technical specificity. Some others are focusing on fundings, and there are so many players. And in the end, everyone is getting to introducing itself as being the one to support the innovator. No, it's not the one, it's one. And I guess that this innovation management system representation that Vilho explained right before is a key for all this organization to identify where they're good at. What do they provide to the company? A company needs an innovation management system. Okay, what is the role of each organization in the ecosystem, whether it be the university, whether it be the whether it be a consultant, whatever it is, what is its role in supporting the organization development? Is it about helping to define the strategy? Is it about to find the right funding? Is it about to support a specific project? There are different roles there. And when you have so many actors in an ecosystem, I believe that the standard can help them to speak the same language and identify together where everyone has a role to play, and understand that none of us is the one, but all of them should work together because they bring different pieces to the whole. And for a newly formed innovation ecosystem, I guess they have a big chance. I'm working especially with some developing countries in South America and in Africa, and there have less organization in place, and it's great for them to use the standard as well, because it can be used to avoid what we did in West European countries with so many organizations, so many that we don't even know what they're doing in the end. But allow them to map the ecosystem using the mapping suggested by the standards. So standards can help to change, again, the way innovation is considered among the different level. It changed things for people, it changed for the organization, it changed things for ecosystem as well. And that was the topic of the third group discussion. Is for you to think about this system level, and so in which part of the system does your organization best perform? If this is the innovation management system, often a company in the end, where are you good at? And where do you need support? And can you identify internally or out of your organization partners that could provide support to the other elements of the system? Do you know, if we use this mapping, would you be able to identify who within your ecosystem can support you in implementing each of those different elements? This is the group topic number 3.
Okay, great. So welcome back, everyone. We started having a really good conversation in the room I was in, and I'm sure you had great conversations elsewhere. And also, I haven't had a chance to confer with my colleagues, but I also made a executive decision along the way that we're going to change up topic number 4 a little bit. So we'll get into that in a minute in the interest of time. But for now, let's start with, I know we have 4 groups, and let's take the time with each of the groups. So let's start with group number 1 and talk about what was the conversation that happened in that team?
So for our team, we actually had a very interesting discussion about which of those clauses would be the most important in a way. But at the same time, it's not only about the importance for the organization, but also the external partners, because that really takes into account the full ecosystem approach, like Johan was mentioning before. And in our group, we also discussed about the importance of investing and which innovations you invest in, because some of the examples were that we're very good at doing like the beginning part and the end part, the ideation and the commercialization or the market entry part. But the middle part is difficult because there you have to start deciding about what do you not do, what do you give up, what do you, say we can't do this just as a way to free up resources. But we did find out that some of the organizations are very good at getting the innovation done and providing the internal infrastructures like the financing instruments to actually push that forward. And that in turn helps the culture reiterate its value of innovation and provide the opportunities for the individuals to pursue innovation. Although we did discuss that even though it creates that mindset of open innovation, sometimes the metrics for successful innovation are not completely aligned, and it might be difficult to measure and monitor those KPIs. I guess like at the end of the discussion, we summed it up as both the strengths and the weaknesses are largely in clause 7 in support. But internally, it means that they're able to, for example, upskill and reskill and invest in talented people. But at the same time, one of the main obstacles is the awareness raising in a large organization, and having that bird's eye view of the entire system is quite difficult.
Thanks, Bailey. How about team number 2?
I was hoping, that you would skip the room number 2 for this session, because to be honest, we have already moved to the next stage, which is, hey guys, when are we going to meet during the ISPIM conference, and how can we go further into the discussions and what would be the content and the entire track? So now, basically, the discussion was more about the global impact for organization to introduce the global system approach, and showing that the question is not where are we good at now and where are we not good at that, but more like how do we get the entire thing and or at least elements for the entire thing, so we can initiate and then develop the global maturity on this topic. And then we talked about the potential audits that are going to come. So, and about the arguments that it could be in-house within an organization to think about this audit and this certification process. Telling that for some organization it might be a great opportunity. Well, within some organization, mentioning the audit and certification part could be a way to bring the top management on board. So yeah, that it was more about this and about, okay, but who is going then to make the audit and how can we get ready for it and so on.
Right, thank you, Johan. Okay, so now moving on to team 3.
So we've got a mixture of innovation hubs, universities, academic institutions, but also government organizations as well. On balance, we thought that our strengths lie in support and in operation, particularly around creating concepts, validating those concepts, creating solutions. Where things can get a bit sticky is when we get beyond developing the solutions and look to deployment. So we talked about examples where in innovation hubs, you can get to a level of knowledge transfer where things kind of grind to a halt, and you need the innovation to scale or to transfer knowledge in some way. And we have an issue where that doesn't always happen. And we've seen that in the kind of public sector government environment as well. We talked about good examples of where hubs and universities are supporting organizations through the competencies, the resources, and also in the first part of the operations phase. On the second question, partners that can provide support, we talked a bit about the wider ecosystem and some challenges associated with that. First of all, it's quite hard to know what your ecosystem actually is. It can be so huge in your sector that being aware of every single opportunity can be difficult. It's quite fragmented in a lot of places. And as we spoke about earlier, national innovation networks don't always help. So it's important to bring all the stakeholders together to create a holistic view that's relevant to your context. We thought, however, some challenges happen as a result of that. So when you create a hybrid innovation system with lots of different organizations, you can have a clash of cultures, clash of frameworks, values, power, and that can cause difficulty in establishing trust and getting to a successful outcome. So that can be a tricky thing for us to manage. One aspect we talked about was around just taking time at the beginning to think about what are your goals and objectives, what competencies do you need to effectively get those carried out, and then start to think about the right organizations and people to partner with early on. And there was a couple of examples where that's had good success.
Right, thanks, Colin. Very nice report out. How about team number 5?
I think it had different views on it because we have different type of organizations, but I think one was inside an organization, and organizations like as large as Tata still struggling to sort of understand how to, or what sort of innovation processes they need to put in place, and then how does it really work in a system level, and how do you build ecosystems and share capabilities and knowledge. And then we also went to innovation outside of organizations, and then what does ecosystem means by then? How do you leveraging on different capabilities? How do you leverage on different knowledge, resources in order to move an innovation? And the question as well that finding a language between if it's inter-organizational innovation or organizations together trying to innovate, how do you find a common language? How do you find, how do you preempt some of those difficulties that then later on delay the processes? And if there's no processes developed, how do you go about it to set them up in an inter-organizational setting?
Great, thank you very much. I knew you would deliver very nicely as well. So that's great. Okay, so as I said, in the interest of time, I'm going to mix this up a little. In topic 4, we were supposed to go to a group discussion, but what we'll do is we'll let Vilho share some of the things about success factors, and it'll kind of be more some of your key takeaways, and then we'll take about 10 minutes for that, and then about 5 minutes to do a very quick wrap up of what we've discussed today. So I'm going to pass it over now to Vilho so you can take us through some of these areas about success factors. Over to you.
Thank you, Joanne. So I will go through a number of key takeaways. Some will be more important than others for you. I will start with the professionals takeaways, and then I will get into the researchers one. So starting off with in the next slide, we have for the professionals really to take away the foundational principles of this whole standards and management system approach. And that's threefold, I think, for the individuals, for the innovation leaders, is the realization of value. And as Johan said, it's not just financial value, but it's also non-financial value. And it's all about adoption and impact. So you have to actually get stuff out there that is used. And to have a future-focused leadership and really cultivate that challenging of the status quo, but not doing it all the time, not challenging everything, actually making sure that you take the time and spend the effort to align your challenging of the status quo with the strategic direction of the organization to support everyone in moving into the future that you want to build. So with those principles to also take the systematic approach about doing this. So implement a structured and systematic way to run this, preferably build an innovation management system. But if you can't start there, like in the group discussions before, try to pick up system elements and really strengthen them and continuously improve from where you are so that eventually you have a strong system together with key players in your ecosystem. And try to establish the metrics and mechanisms to assess the effectiveness of individual initiatives as well as the overall innovation management system. Moving into the next slide, some enabling factors that you can leverage. The organizational culture is a difficult beast to change overnight, but you can be systematic about it. And the important thing is that you make sure that it enables both creativity and execution. Because if you have just one of them, you're going to have a bad time eventually. You need both. And another enabling factor is to really work with insights, not starting with ideas, but starting with insights into stated or unstated customer needs. So really figure out what it is that people are needing and then ideate. And this will enable you to manage uncertainty in a systematic way, to iteratively build more knowledge where there is a lack of knowledge, to actually make sure that you manage uncertainty and not just try to reduce risk and stop and do nothing. Hopefully this will enable you to actually work outside and inside with collaboration and alignment. So try to be cross-functional about this. You will need to be cross-functional about this. You cannot do this alone. In order to do an end-to-end innovation process, you will need to engage almost all parts of an organization in that journey. And be mindful of those stakeholders, both internal and external ones, to use insights into what they need to give them what they want at the time that it is useful. And try to do knowledge sharing. If you can get that culture out there, that you can learn from failures and learn from successes equally, it will be a lot easier to go forward. And finally, for the professionals, for your own professional development, really embrace a growth mindset. And I guess this is smashing in open doors for most of you, but a growth mindset is significantly different from a static one. You can learn and you should learn throughout your professional development. And really practice research and thought leadership. This is where we're at the moment, but this isn't where we will be in 10 years. So continuously contribute to the field, be part of research. Maybe you're not a researcher yourself, but you can connect with researchers here at ISPIM to make sure that your work is published and actually shared in the industry. And I think we're all here doing a good job of networking and collaborating with other professionals and industry experts and researchers to exchange ideas and stay informed. Moving into the takeaways for the researchers, I think the researchers have the excellent opportunity to actually really expand the body of knowledge by really using critically analyzing the theories that are there and bringing that to work on the systems perspective and the standards that we have. And also to take an interdisciplinary perspective on this, so that it's not just an innovation management professional, but all other ones that are necessary, for example, design or software, for depending on the type of innovation being developed. But do this in an empirical way, use the appropriate methodology to do research. At this point, we still need a lot of qualitative work to be done, so that the quantitative work actually has something to leverage. Be mindful of the different ways that you can collect data. It's not just case studies, but the surveys and the experiments. There's also probably a lot of archival data that can be cross-referenced to the kind of systems approach. That was one of the way that one of the case books that Joanne was an editor of utilized. But also, there's a lot of contextual consideration that needs to be done. The standards are very general, and the different applications for public sector, private sector, large and small organizations are going to be extremely interesting to see different cases and different industries and how it changes across geographies and different cultures. Moving into practical applications, we really want and need this kind of bridging of the gap between theory and practice. It's really interesting to see more hands-on research that implements the innovation management practices in organizations. It could be kind of action research or participatory action research. Very appropriate to use evidence-based insights that we can get the empirical evidence from the researchers and leverage that going forward. And of course, to really, as I said, hammer home the case studies of the real world applications here. And in order to make this happen, of course, we need collaboration and knowledge sharing. So we really need academic partnerships across countries, across fields to get this approach out there and validated. And we need you to be engaged with industry to really have the real world application cases and access to the value that is generated in industry, but also in the public sector. And also academics are in a unique position to actually disseminate and transfer this knowledge and make the publications, go to the conferences and workshops and share your work. And finally, as for the professionals, continuously learn, stay up to date with the latest developments, but even more so important here, to have ethics and integrity in doing this. So uphold the high standards that we have for research, ensure that the research participants' integrity is protected and shared in a way that they are comfortable with. And practice critical thinking and objectivity. And we really welcome all challenges here. And that is how we progress. Back to you, Johan.
Thank you, Vilho. So we have just about 5 minutes to do a wrap up, and just want to talk about sort of also what's coming from an ISPIM perspective, because we have quite a few sessions planned. But first, just so we took you through 4 topics. We started with sort of the principles, and we heard from you that they can be organizational dependent. It's important, how do we go about figuring out how to include them in organizations? How do we prioritize them and so forth? It can even help with developing strategy for internal consultants or even external consultants that are coming in to help you. Then we took you to the next topic of sort of starting to know that we have processes out there, but we need to start to think as a system. And we talked about the middle management level and where often things go astray. And it's important to get the alignment with top management and also have the right kind of vision in place or support structure in place to be able to make that happen. And part of that is about the lobbying. And in the world that I've worked in for many years, which is in the world of managing uncertainty, a lot of these are resource and organization uncertainties that we need to deal with, that we need to face. And we need to figure out how to deal with them also in a systematic way and reduce those uncertainties over time. And then we also talked about, we don't want the profession to be always vulnerable. So if there's a crisis, you shut it down. We all know, we've seen it. I've been through it a couple of times. And what only to have to restart in a couple of years. and knowing that you lost all of the know-how in doing that because you got rid of the people that knew how to do it well. So you start the cycle over again, and then the same thing happens, the reoccurring cycle. And then finally, we talked about the system level, and we really focused in on, that some clauses could be more important than others. There seemed to be a lot of support around the areas of operations and the support clause itself. We also heard that a number of you start with the context of the organization to be able to better understand what we're dealing with, what are the goals, the objectives, and so forth, to be able to move forward. And also, I think emerging more and more prevalent now is the wider ecosystem. And as part of that wider ecosystem, often we don't even know what it is, and we've got to learn more about it. And then it's very difficult often to bring it together because we have different cultures that can clash, different power structures, different ideas of what the strategic intent happens to be, or the innovation intent happens to be, and so forth. So we've gone from sort of the principles to the process to the system, and then Vilho did a nice job of wrapping up with some of the key takeaways for you. So looking up, going forward now, we are going to be spending time at ISPIM, and in our track we have a total of 11 different sessions. Each of our sessions is, we have our innovation body of knowledge SIG in the program, so you'll know which ones are a part of our particular track. And we're really wanting to get to the next step now of engaging the community and answering some of these strategic questions, which is really sort of now about, okay, so now we're going to have this competency framework for innovation management that's going to be starting at both the ISO and the European at the SEND level. And we want to figure out how can ISPIM contribute and who should participate. And for those of you who do not know, ISPIM is actually a type A liaison with ISO. So we can actually think about forming a mirror committee and being able to be a part of the standards drafting process. So that will be one of the discussions we're going to have in one of our sessions. The next part will also be to discuss the innovation management body of knowledge, and should this be something that ISPIM takes on. And as I mentioned earlier, we have gone after Erasmus Plus funding. We're hoping we'll be successful with that. And we were really like ISPIM, especially being, having its global footprint, be the objective source of building this innovation body of knowledge. So we will also be discussing that as well. The personal certification, that will, be on hold. We'll discuss it briefly, but it is also a consideration for ISPIM into the future. And then we will also have sessions around how to prepare for 56001 certification. And we have a number of case studies that will be presented. One in particular that will probably be of great interest will be, one is about the innovation ecosystem and the dispersion of that, which Bailey will be leading with her team. And then another one will be around the TUV Nord, the TNG case study, about how they've gone about doing an innovation assessment and figuring out whether they're ready for ISO 56001 certification or not. And so they will also be presenting that. So we have a lot of very interesting sessions coming up, and we encourage you to join us to continue the dialogue. And we're very happy to continue to add more and more people. If you're not already part of the SIG, here's the QR code so that you can go and join it. And we obviously want you to join the LinkedIn group, but most importantly, if you can participate in some of our sessions in our dedicated track, we'd be really happy to see you there. So that essentially completes the session for today. And our intent was really to get you more familiarized with the standard and what are some of the key areas to be focused on, so that you have the background. And now hopefully you'll be in a better position to engage in the dialogue when we get into the sessions in a little over a week now. So any final comments or closing comments from Vilho or Johan, or even anyone that has been part of the session?
Let me just add one thing related to the upcoming ISPIM conference. You mentioned all the great content that we're going to discuss there. I want to add the fun part as well, because ISPIM is, is for those who might have not participated yet to any of the ISPIM conference, you should come and participate, because it's also a place you can meet great people in a nice atmosphere and enjoy always nice places and have nice time talking, getting very deep knowledge and an intense discussion, but also be able to get out of this. I love ISPIM for this, so I cannot talk about ISPIM without talking about also this part, which is very important.
Well, especially the ISPIM band.
Yeah, that's the secret for the one that are going to come. But yeah,
Right.
so thank you so much for your participation today, and I really hope that we're gonna meet most of you in the coming days.
Yep. Thank you for
Yep.
all of the time today, and feel free to follow up with us. We will arrange to have the slides shared. We'll coordinate that with Lucia and make sure that you have it available. And also, there's 2 hot topic discussions that Vilho and Johan will be leading as well. So look for those. And I think, Vilho, you just came off mute. So would you like to say something as well?
No, just thanking you for the time and engagement today, and looking forward to seeing all of you in Tallinn next week.
Right. Okay, so thanks to all of you, and thanks to also Bailey helping us out, and obviously to Johan and Vilho for an excellent job in getting all these messages delivered, and and obviously the contributions of each and every one of you. So thank you.